Most soldiers don't talk about this part, not because it isn't important, but because it's difficult to explain to anyone who hasn't lived it. Movies don't show it, recruitment ads don't mention it, and when soldiers try to talk about it, the words often fall short. This part of military life isn't loud, dramatic, or heroic. It's quiet, it's heavy, and it stays with you long after the uniform comes off. One of the first things soldiers experience, but rarely admit, is loneliness. Even when surrounded by people, even when constantly working in teams, there is a deep sense of isolation that settles in. Military life removes familiar support systems overnight. Family, friends, routines, and personal space are replaced by strict schedules and shared environments. You're never truly alone, yet you often feel completely on your own. That contradiction is difficult to explain to civilians, so most soldiers don't try. Loneliness in the military isn't just about being away from home. It's about emotional distance. Conversations become surface level. You learn quickly that not everything you think or feel should be said out loud. Vulnerability feels risky. Weakness feels dangerous. Over time, many soldiers stop sharing parts of themselves, even with people they trust. Silence becomes a habit, and habits, once formed, are hard to break. Relationships suffer quietly. Romantic relationships are tested by distance, unpredictability, and emotional absence. Phone calls are short, messages are delayed, important moments are missed. Birthdays, anniversaries, emergencies, and ordinary days that matter all happen without you. Over time, resentment can build on both sides. The person at home feels forgotten, the soldier feels misunderstood, and neither side knows how to bridge the gap. Even friendships change. Soldiers often feel disconnected from civilian friends because their experiences no longer align. Conversations feel trivial. Complaints about small inconveniences sound foreign when you've lived under constant pressure. At the same time, soldiers may feel guilty for feeling this way, which deepens the emotional divide. So they listen, nod, and stay quiet. Another part most soldiers don't talk about is identity loss. When you join the military, your identity becomes clear and structured. Rank, role, uniform, schedule, purpose. You know where you belong and what is expected of you. Decisions are made within a defined framework. Over time, that structure becomes comfortable. It gives direction. It removes uncertainty. But that clarity comes at a cost. Individual identity slowly fades into collective identity. Personal preferences matter less. Opinions are filtered. Expression is controlled. This isn't inherently bad. It's necessary for discipline and coordination. But when the uniform eventually comes off, many soldiers feel lost. Without the structure, they struggle to answer a simple question: who am I now? This identity loss doesn't always happen after service. Sometimes it begins during it. Soldiers may feel like they exist only within their role, not as individuals. They are valued for what they can do, not who they are. Over time, this can create emotional numbness. Feelings are muted. Reactions are controlled. Detachment becomes normal. Another unspoken struggle is emotional suppression. Soldiers are trained to manage emotions under stress, which is essential in high-pressure environments. But that training doesn't turn off when the situation ends. Many soldiers carry that emotional control into everyday life. They struggle to express joy, sadness, fear, or vulnerability. Loved ones may interpret this as coldness or distance, when in reality it's conditioning. This emotional control often leads to misunderstanding. Family members may say, "You've changed." Friends may feel shut out. Soldiers may not know how to explain that change, because it happened gradually, without conscious choice. They adapted to survive. Now they're expected to switch back, instantly. There's also the loneliness of responsibility. Soldiers are trained to be accountable, dependable, and composed, even when overwhelmed. They learn to carry weight quietly. This creates an internal pressure to handle everything alone. Asking for help feels like failure. Admitting struggle feels dangerous. So many soldiers internalize stress until it becomes normal. Another rarely discussed aspect is the loss of emotional language. Over time, soldiers may struggle to articulate what they're feeling. Emotions become physical sensations instead of words. Tension, fatigue, irritation, restlessness. Without language, emotions remain unresolved. And unresolved emotions don't disappear, they surface in other ways. The military also reshapes how soldiers view connection. Trust is built through reliability, not emotional sharing. Bonds form through shared hardship, not conversation. This creates deep loyalty, but also emotional restraint. When those bonds are broken by transfers, deployments, or discharge, the loss can feel abrupt and unresolved. There is rarely closure. Many soldiers also struggle with the feeling of being replaceable. Despite the rhetoric of honor and service, the system moves on quickly. Roles are filled, schedules continue. This can create a quiet sense of insignificance. Soldiers may wonder if their sacrifice truly mattered, or if they were just another part in a larger machine. Another reason soldiers don't talk about this part is fear of burdening others. They don't want to worry family members or be perceived as ungrateful. There's pressure to appear strong, resilient, and composed. Admitting loneliness or identity confusion feels contradictory to the image people expect. There's also the issue of reintegration. Returning home doesn't mean returning to who you were. Soldiers may feel like outsiders in their own lives. Familiar places feel unfamiliar. Old routines feel pointless. Without the constant structure, some feel restless or directionless. This transition is rarely discussed openly, but it's one of the most challenging phases of service. Another unspoken struggle is grief, not always for people, but for versions of oneself. Soldiers may grieve who they were before service, or who they thought they would become. These losses aren't recognized publicly, so they're processed privately, if at all. The silence around these issues creates a cycle. New soldiers enter without knowing what to expect. Experienced soldiers stay quiet to protect themselves and others. Civilians remain unaware, and the emotional cost continues, largely unseen. But the reason this part matters is because it humanizes service. Soldiers are not machines. They are people shaped by structure, pressure, and sacrifice. Understanding this doesn't weaken respect for the military, it deepens it. Talking about loneliness doesn't erase strength. Acknowledging identity loss doesn't diminish service. Admitting emotional struggle doesn't mean failure. It means honesty. Most soldiers don't talk about this part because it's invisible, complex, and hard to explain. But once it's seen, it can't be ignored. And recognizing it is the first step towards supporting not just the uniform, but the human being inside it. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the content, please hit the like button and subscribe to stay updated with our latest videos on YouTube.